How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to continue our SD-WAN series by actually bringing up the vEdges. Yay! So this process is actually kind of involved. There's a lot of little steps that you have to go through in order for this to work. So we're going to walk through them step by step. The first couple, I'm suspecting the first couple will go a little slower than the last few. So there's 5 I have to do. I'm going to do all 5. And I'll do them in order, get them all up and running so you guys can see what that looks like. But there are a number of steps that we have to go through in order to do that. So having those steps laid out is, I've pretty much memorized it because I've only done it like 50 times in the past couple of weeks. So I'm pretty comfortable with the flow by now. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do in this video. Get them all up and running, and then get them added to vManage and vBond, and set up the OMP peering and stuff like that. So you'll actually start to see some of this stuff come to life. Because right now we just got the controllers up and running, and it's just like, meh, it's whatever. But the real power of SD-WAN doesn't come into play until you get the vEdges online and start actually working with it. So it's actually pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the way, and I'm gonna go ahead and begin the config of bringing these guys up, because there's a number of steps that we have to go through. So I'm going to automate this once we get the first one done so we can speed the process up. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of repetitive config. So we're going to go admin and then admin and go to global config. And it's going to be the same system config that you've seen before. So system, the host name is going to be vEdge, and this one's going to be vEdge1. The site ID will be 12 because we're dealing with this bigger site over here on the left. The system IP here will be 10.12.0.1. The vBond IP will be 223.1.1.11. And the organization will be lab. You don't really have to do anything else if you don't want to. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that config. And next thing I'm going to do is set up a VPN 0. So VPN 0, again, IP route. I'm going to create a single default route that's going to point out towards the internet right here. So IP route is going to be 0.0.0.0/0 to 192.1.1.1. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. And then interface GE 0/0, IP address of 192.1.1.2/24. I'm going to no shut that interface. And then underneath here, I'm going to type in tunnel interface. Underneath here is going to be encapsulation is going to be IPsec, and we're going to allow service all. Okay. I'm going to exit out and exit out again, and interface GE 0/1. IP address here will be 172.31.11.2/24. I'm going to no shut that guy. And then tunnel interface. Encapsulation is going to be IPsec, and then allow service all. Okay, that's basically the initial config. So I'm going to do a show config. That's going to be all of the syntax we need to throw in for that particular device. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit that config. Oh, and okay, so that's one thing I forgot to mention. So what we have to do is underneath interface GE 0/0 tunnel interface, we're going to specify the color is going to be public internet. And I'm going to come up here to GE 0/1 tunnel interface, and then the color is going to be MPLS. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that. Now, what does that actually mean? Think of a color. A color is a way to provide designation between different transports. That's literally all it is. There's nothing to do with like QoS or prioritization or anything like that. It simply has something to do, it can be tied to those things, but it's simply a way to differentiate between multiple transports. So you could have multiple transports plugged into a single vEdge, and then you could send traffic, via public internet, biz internet, whatever the case might be. So by doing it this way, I'm basically enabling the ability to define where traffic goes and that type of stuff. But it's a way to define what the transport actually is. So by using the color, I can differentiate public internet from private WAN. So for example, if I had 4G LTE or some other type of service, I could designate it as such. There's a number of colors that you can use. As a matter of fact, you can use color, and then you can use a bunch of them. You've got 3G, Biz Internet, Blue, Bronze, etc. Then you get down here, you got Private 3, LTE, Metro Ethernet, MPLS, Public Internet, Red, Custom 1, 2, 3, whatever the case might be. You've got all that stuff working out for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit that config. No changes to commit. I'm going to go ahead and exit out, or jump out of the video. I'm going to jump out of here, and I'm going to do show run VPN 0. I'm going to take a number of these lines of config, and I'm going to dump them into here. So in this case here, it's going to be vEdge 1, and it's going to be 10.12.0.1. Site ID will be 12, and the vBond will be, did I make a mistake on that? vSmart show run system. I don't think I put in 12. No, it's right. That's supposed to be 11. And then I'll grab the config from vEdge 1, and I will pretty much take this, copy it all in, but I'll concatenate it a little bit. In other words, clean up the config. So I'm going to do this, and then what I'll do is I will bring all this up to here to where it says allow service all, and I'll schwack all that, and same thing here, like that. There we go. So that's pretty much the minimum config that you need to have. We have our GE0/0 interface, which is going to be your public internet. And then we have GE0/1, which will be color MPLS, no shutdown on both of them. We have our default route. So now I can take this config and dump it into the other boxes. But right now I'm not too terribly concerned with that. I've committed the config. Let's just make sure on that. Yep. The first thing I have to do is I have to go in and download the certificate from the CA server. Now, one of the things that I have to do initially is on the iNet router, go up here to global config, or on the iNet router, is do a show IP route and verify that I have a default route, or a route to 223.1110, and I do. So I should be able to ping 192.1.20.2. I can ping that, which is what I want to see. On vEdge 1, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the controllers. Request download TFTP ://223.1.1.13 Give that a couple seconds. It looks like it worked. There it goes. Timed out. Let me make sure ping 223.1.1.13. Let me make sure that the config is working the way it looks like it's sort of working. Oh, you know what? I don't have a default route on here. So let me go back to the switch. Show IP interface, or show IP route. Oh, that's because I don't have a default route. That's my mistake. So IP route to 192.1.20.1. Do right. So now I should be good. Let me go ahead and do this one more time from the vEdge. Try to ping that again, and now the ping works. So now if I try to run that command again, I should have no problem downloading it, which I don't. So now go back to vEdge 1, and then I'll request root certificate chain install home admin and then pki.ca. Alright, easy enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to start taking some of these commands out right here. I'm going to basically grab these two lines of config right there. I'm going to paste them like so that I know what commands I have to type in. And then I've got the install working the way that I need it to. The next thing for me to do is to generate the certificate signing request. So type in request CSR upload to home admin and then csr.txt. When I do this, I'm going to be prompted for the organization name. So it's going to be lab and lab, enter key, and then the CSR will get generated. So I'm going to take this command right here, request CSR upload right there, paste that in so like so, and then it's going to be lab. So kind of pre-scripting it, if you will. And then now what I have to do is I have to type in vshell, and then if I do a ls, you'll see that the csr.txt is there. If I type in more csr.txt, that's going to show me the CSR. So I'm going to grab the CSR right here. Really no different than what we did on the vEdge or the vBond or the, vManage, vSmart, vBond. Except for instead of seeing it in the GUI and copying it out of the GUI and going to the CLI to submit it and then get a granted certificate back, we're doing everything from the CLI. So we have that process. We're gonna go down here, hit the enter key a couple times, and crypto PKI server, PKI request, PKCS10 via the terminal, and then paste that information in like so. Hit the enter key and type in quit. And then after a couple of moments, we should get a generated certificate. Or I should say a granted certificate, not a generated granted certificate. There we go. So now we're underneath here. Now we need to actually paste the output into a file. So we're going to type in cat. So we're going to basically tell the vEdge device to create a file. So we're going to do greater than sign, less than sign, sorry. And then we're going to do quote, or parenthesis, quote. And then it's going to be close greater than sign. So less than sign, quote, space, greater than sign, space, cert.txt. And then we're going to paste the contents of our clipboard into the CLI, hit the enter key a couple times, and then we're good to go. And then we're going to type in exit. And then we're going to type in request certificate install home admin and then cert.txt. If I've done everything correctly, there it goes. Now we're good to go. We've installed the certificate, so now we're going to type in show certificate serial and hit the enter key. And now we've got our chassis number and we have our serial number. So I'm going to come back over here to vManage. I'm going to type in request vEdge add chassis number, paste that in, and then I'm going to say serial number, and then look at vEdge 1 and it's 05. So I'm going to type in 05, hit the enter key. I'm going to grab all this right here and go to the vBond, paste that in as well. Now that I've added that, I should be able to go back over here to vManage, and then on devices, we can see vEdge Cloud was added. And then after a short period of time, via site ID 12 is there. If I look at the certificates, I can see the certificate is good and we're squared away. Now the next thing to do is click on the send to controllers. So I'm going to send to controllers, and that's going to push the vEdge list, the WAN list, down to the controllers so that the vSmart will see it. So if we type in show control connections, eventually we should have a control connection set up to the vEdge, and there's the vEdge. The vEdge is now there. It just came up. And if we do a show OMP peers, we should have a connection to vEdge 1, which we do, which is what we want to have. So now I'm going to repeat the process on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, it's a repetitive process, but at this point in time, let me go back to vEdge 1. There's this command right here. Some things you can't pre-script, and for those things that can't be pre-scripted, we can, well, let me go ahead and grab some of these other commands that we can use. Grab all this. And so we type in vshell, and then we type in more csr.txt, and then we type in that command right there so we can paste in the contents, and then we install. So this is basically the workflow that we need to have in play. So if we go over to vEdge 2, let's go ahead and kind of in this case here, it's kind of a template. So this will be vEdge 2. We're going to go ahead and .2. We're going to say that this is, let me go ahead and minimize this guy and move this over. So this will be 192.1.2.2 for GE0/0. It'll be 172.31.12.2 for the MPLS connection. It'll be 1.2.1 for the internet. And then everything else is pretty much the same. So we're literally able to copy all this into vEdge 2. Let me go ahead and log in real quick. And paste all this information in as such and commit it. All right, so now we've got that. Let's go ahead and ping 223.1.1.13. Excellent. So now it's going to be a matter of coming back here and doing the install. So let's go ahead and execute those commands. So that worked. Let's go ahead and internal error. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and install the certificate, which is what we want. And then I'm going to go grab this command here. And let's actually try it with this. I don't know if it's actually going to work. Copy that and then paste it in. It looks like it worked. Excellent. So it just goes way faster when you do it that way. And then we're going to go, we'll type in vshell ls more csr.txt. There it is. And grab all this, go back to the CA, and then it's going to be a crypto PKI server PKI request PKCS10 terminal. Paste that in. Enter key, and then quit. There's our generated certificate. Let me grab all that, bring it back over here to the vEdge, and it's going to be that cat, less than sign, quote, quote, greater than sign, cert.txt, paste it in, and enter key, exit, and then request certificate install home admin cert.txt, and then show certificate serial. So now we're going to be 06, so I'll just basically take this information right here. Request vEdge add chassis number, and then the chassis number here, and then serial number 06. Enter key. Grab all that, go back to vBond, paste that in, pull up our config here, and then let's actually go to certificates. And then after a couple seconds, we should see, might take it a moment or so for, there it goes. So if you don't see it right away, be patient. It does take a couple seconds for it to load. There it is. And then we can go ahead and send to controllers. So there we have it. And excellent. So now if we go to, I really like to check the vSmart, show control connections, and then after a moment or so, we should have a second vEdge. OMP peers, we should have, again, it might take some, there it goes. There we are. So we're good to go now, and we're in good shape. So the remainder of it is literally going to be the same thing. It's going to be vEdge 3, 4, and 5, and through that. So I don't see the need to really, I know I mentioned I was going to do the repetitiveness, but it takes a while to get this working. So it's just a lot of repetitive tasks. So I'm going to pause the video until we're 100% complete, and then I'll bring you guys back in, and we'll validate that everything's working the way that it needs to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, I was able to get the first 4 vEdges online, but the 5th vEdge is kind of a unique bird. It's only got a connection to the MPLS cloud and not to the internet. So a traditional deployment won't actually work here. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid way of deploying it. But that's okay for right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull up vManage, and I'm going to go back to devices, and we should have all 4 vEdges up and running. We go to certificates. All of them are showing up as well. If we go to vManage and we do a show, this is why I don't like use show control connections, we should have a bunch of vEdge connections. We should have 4 of them up currently, which we do. If we jump on vBond and we do a show orchestrator connections, we should have a number of connections to the vEdges as well. And if we go to vSmart and log back in, we should show a bunch of OMP peers as well. 4 of them, as a matter. Oh, you know why? Because I haven't pushed the certificates down to the controllers yet. That's why we don't see those showing up yet, because I hadn't done that yet. So just to show you could add a bunch of devices in mass if you wanted to, and then after a couple of minutes, we should start to see these guys show up. All 4 of them. We should see 10.3.0.1 and 10.4.0.1 here momentarily, once the connections come online and everybody's happy. So this might take a little longer than, there's the first one and there's the second one. Excellent. So, well, now we're up. Okay, cool. So we have all of our devices are now associated that we need to have squared away. So I'm going to hold off on vEdge 5 because I plan on walking you guys through how to bring up the secondary transport, because right now we've only done a single transport. Right now we've only done the internet transport, right? So anything that connects to the internet cloud as our main transport, or I should say our internet transport, that's all we brought up in terms of the operations. So this vEdge 5, who is attached to the MPLS cloud, he'll come up in the next video, because that's where I'm going to go through and walk you guys through how that process works. And then once we have that all squared away, we're going to start to see issues start to crop up inside of vManage. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean by that. We come back over here and we click on the dashboard tab. And what you're going to see is it's kind of a mixed bag of connectivity, right? So we're sort of working, sort of not. You can see stuff is starting to come together, and we have everything squared away. So if I pull up the command line and I bring this down just a little bit, right? And I click on, say, vEdge 1, and I log back in, you can see that it full WAN connectivity, 3 sites, which means that I can talk to the other 3 sites. So I can talk to, from vEdge 1, I can talk to sites 3 and 4. So if I do a show BFD sessions, I should have connections going out to 3 and 4, which I do. And if I do a show IPsec outbound connections, I should have a number of connections going out. I should have 2 of them. One going to site 3, one going to site 4, which is what I have. Eventually, this partial will go to control up. So I'll have 5 total once we're all squared away. Or I should say, it'll be 4 total. Or 5? Yeah, it'll be 5 total. But this eventually will go to 5. But right now, we've only got a single transport operational. The transport that we have operational is just internet. Because in the next video, I'll go through and I'll walk you guys through how to set up the BGP peering inside of VPN 0 so that we can get that process done. And then we'll be able to add vEdge 5, because then we need to set up BGP on the DC switch in order to get it operational. Because there are going to be certain times when you're only going to have one transport type connected to a vEdge, and this is one of those scenarios where you only have one connected, and that's basically what you need to work with. So we'll take care of that in the next video. Beyond that, that is how you set up vEdges inside of Viptela. This is a completely on-prem solution, as you can probably tell. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.